Hey everybody, it's that time of the year again. I'm going to be revisiting the classic Veritas science topic of active headphones. Again, answering the age-old question of what's the difference between all of them and which is the best for me. Now, when I did my first analysis nearly 3 years ago, we only had 4 pairs of active headphones in the game. I dove into the details about some of the terminology used in the world of audio, explaining concepts like decibels and equalization, and analyzed the major differences between the different headphones for you to keep in mind when considering your options. When I revisited the topic in early 2020, the headphones had gotten a few tweaks and we also had a few new options. I broke down how the active headphones worked in the game and what it is they actually do for you when they're worn, namely ambient volume reduction, compression, and equalization. Check out the videos I linked in the description for more detailed information on these concepts. The second video ended up being a bit of a crowd favorite, due to it featuring a blind test, and the community overwhelmingly wanted another blind test this time around. But during editing the video, it became clear that the same format wasn't going to work as effectively as before due to the number of options available to us now. It's easy to hear 3 options and determine which of the 3 you prefer, but when you're given 8 options one after the other, it's really difficult to properly compare them and avoid challenges that ultimately taint the results, such as recency bias. I analyzed all 8 of the headphones and broke them down into 2 major categories, and as such, this video is going to have 2 major sections. The first is going to help you decide which major type of headphone you prefer, and then once we dial that in, we'll then compare our options within each category, with the end goal of you arriving at your most preferred headphones with perhaps the others in the same category being viable backup options. You're going to want to grab a pen and paper, grab your phone, or otherwise have some way of keeping track of the scores throughout. The first section will be comparing 2 options, A and B. After listening to a couple of examples of each, give a point to whichever option you prefer. Then at the end of this first section, we can compare to see the results and continue accordingly. Let's begin with some simple outdoor ambient sound. Alright, moving on, let's go to your player movement indoors. Now let's compare the same thing, but outdoors. Alright, now on to the final comparison of the first section. We're going to do shooting indoors. Alright, so at this point you should have enough information to get an idea for which type of headphone you prefer. Now if not, don't worry, that's okay. You can watch the rest of this video and we'll be doing more granular comparisons that will hopefully help you determine what your favorite is. So the first category we looked at, category A, I'll refer to as transparent headphones. These tended to have the mid and high frequencies slightly boosted and have a subtle reduction in overall ambient volume. The difference between no headphones and the transparent headphones is more subtle in most cases compared to the second category that I'll refer to as the processed headphones. These definitely have more of their lows boosted and sound like they're more compressed, so explosions and gunshots sound beefier, and the reduction to ambient noise tends to be much more than the others. Now there are pros and cons to each set of headphones, and everybody processes sound a little bit differently, so ultimately it all comes down to what you personally prefer. Depending on what your preference is from this first section, you can skip to the associated chapter where I compare each of the options within both categories, or feel free to watch both and perhaps have your mind changed. Alright guys, real quick before we get to the rest of the science, gotta do a quick intermission so I can pay the bills and thank the sponsor of today's video, Juju Energy. Back in my last Comtacs video, I said this. As many of you guys know, I am sponsored by the fantastic folks over at Juju Energy. They've been a huge supporter of the channel, and if I ever have the chance of doing content creation full-time, it's going to be through a foundation of relationships like I have with Juju. It's been over a year since that video, and as many of you guys know, I am fortunate enough to have quit my day job and be doing this whole content creation thing full time. For those of you guys that aren't familiar, let me give you a quick rundown why I love Juju and why they've been my primary sponsor basically from the beginning. It all goes back to this sound. When I was a kid, this sound was like a bat signal. Wherever I was in the neighborhood, as soon as I heard this sound, I'd be sprinting home as fast as I could to grab my jar of quarters to try to collect the $1.25 I needed for that blue raspberry 2-ball screwball or a bomber pop. Fast forward 20-odd something years, and the first flavor of Juju I tried was this. Every time I mix one of these up, especially on a hot summer day, it takes me back to those years as a kid when I could run around all day with what felt like infinite energy and enjoy the carefree nature of childhood. Now, not only does the taste of Grapesicle and Cherry Bomb give me an awesome hit of nostalgia, but the caffeine packed into one scoop of this stuff keeps me going all day long. If you're looking for an awesome alternative to expensive energy drinks that actually tastes good, and want to support a company that's put me in a position to be able to make content like this for you full time, head on over to jujuenergy.com and use code Veritas10 to both save 10% off your order and directly support me at the same time. It's a win-win. And now, let's hop back into the science. Let's start by looking at the transparent headphones in more detail.
На месте! Стоять! На месте! Стоять! На месте! Стоять! На месте! Стоять! Стоп! Заври! Стоп! Заври! Стоп! Заври! Стоп! Заври!
Alright, so now for the results for the first group. How'd you do? Did you have any clear winners, or were they all pretty similar to you? I personally found the differences between these four to be quite subtle in most cases, with the major distinguishing factors being a couple of annoying frequencies emphasized in only a small number of situations, but overall I find them all perfectly usable. Headset A was the Opsmen M32 headset. Option B was the Walker Excel headset. C was the Peltor ComTac 2, and D was the Walker Razors. Did any of these stand out as your favorite? Let me know what you thought in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to know if the results this time around are going to be as consistent as last time. Now let's move on to the second group, the processed headphones. Let's run through the same battery of tests and compare these. Honestly, I think the differences are going to be a bit more noticeable and opinions will differ much more. We'll see.
Стоп! На месте! Стоп! На месте! Стоп! На месте! Стоп! На месте! Стоять! Заври! Стоять! Заври! Стоять! Заври! Стоять! Заври!
Alrighty, so that does it for the process headphones. Again, I would love to know if you caught any major differences between them, or if there were any that stuck out to you as good or bad. Option A was the OpsCore FAST RAC headphones. Option B were the Sordins. Option C were the Peltor Tactical Sports. And option D was the GSSHs. So once again, guys, would love to know if you had a preference between or within the groups. Do let me know in the comments. If you want more stuff like this in the future, show the video some love by liking and subbing to the channel, and visit the sponsor for this video, JujuEnergy.com, and use code Veritas10 for 10% off. I look forward to making more Veritas science videos for you guys in the future. See you later.